evening, voters. In about 2 weeks from now, Gram Panchayat and Zilla Panchayat levels, elections will be held in the state of West Bengal. But let me tell you, the results for at least 1/3 of those 58,972 seats where candidates have filed their nomination. This is not an exit poll. This is not an opinion poll. This is the truth. Simply because these seats have one candidate each, uncontested, somewhat unprecedented. Poll violence is not new in India, especially not in West Bengal. But one expects things to improve in 2018 as the country progresses. As times change, one expects that things will improve, not worsen. So is it really acceptable that in 2018, we see the kind of violence that West Bengal has witnessed in the month of April? Swords being brandished, guns being brandished, openly carried around, crude bombs being hurled, lives lost, clashes every day in several places. In fact, in areas like Birbhum, scenes were similar to a war zone. Now, is this all linked to the end result of those who filed their nominations? I don't know. I'm going to ask that question tonight to our panelists. What I do know and what I said I will tell you is this. In 34% of the seats, that's about roughly 20,000 seats, there will not be any voting technically, but definitely not a contest, because there is only one candidate, that of the TMC. TMC has managed to bag 1/3 of the seats even before elections have happened. So what has happened here? Have people become scared due to violence? Were they blocked from filing their nomination? Or have Mamata's rivals just chosen not to take her on? We debate that on the other side of this report.
The month of April has been horrifying for the state of West Bengal. Violent, extreme clashes in many parts of the state. All this in the run-up to the Panchayat elections in the state. Now, as one looks at the data of candidates who will be fighting for the elections, one thing is clear. Mamata Didi's TMC has already won 1/3 of the battle. According to the State Election Commission, of the 48,650 seats in 3,358 Gram Panchayats, 16,814 will be uncontested, and of the 9,217 seats in 341 Panchayat Samitis, 3,059 seats will be uncontested. In the 20 Zilla Parishads, 203 of the 825 seats were uncontested.
When you do a sum up, it comes to about 34.2% of uncontested seats which have gone to Trinamool Congress this Panchayat election in 2018. The number which has only spiraled almost threefold from 2013 election. The figure was about 11% at that point in time.
Since from 1977 to 2017, in the 40 years, the total number of uncontested seats in all these 40 years is close to about 23 to 24,000. So in 6 years, Mamata Banerjee has been able to destroy the sad history of Bengal that was accumulated in 40 years.
So are the lower number of candidates challenging the TMC linked to the violence and muscle power visible on the streets of Bengal in the month gone by? Have voters lost out on the chance to have the power to choose in 20,000 seats? Let's debate.
Let's say good evening to our guests. Mr. Fuad Halim, leader of the CPIM, joining us this evening from Kolkata. I also have Mr. Jagdeep Chokar, professor of the Indian Institute of Management, also the founder of Associated of Democrat Reforms. Joy Prakash Majumdar, Vice President of the BJP unit in West Bengal. Ranjan Bhattacharya, political analyst, also joining us this evening. And Shikha Mukherjee, a senior journalist, with us this evening with her expert comments as well. Let me go across to Mr. Fuad Halim first and ask him. Mr. Fuad Halim, to what does your party attribute this lower number of contestants that you're fielding this time has lost its will to fight Mamata anymore?
No, it's very clear that if you analyze the figures, then there is one more data that needs to be crunched, and that is for the 58,000 odd seats that the contest is happening here in West Bengal. The Trinamool at this point of time has 63,000 candidates. So the 34% seats that have been won uncontested, there is also a significant number of seats where only Trinamool candidates are going to be available, because you have 5,000 seats in which the Trinamool has more than one candidate fighting against each other. So these figures, if you crunch it in the ultimate analysis, it might go up to close to 40% of the seats which the Trinamool has already won by default. Now this situation is itself a very what you call strong indicator as to how the democratic exercise has been compromised. We've seen visuals where in the DM's office, SDO office and the BDO offices, the police have been carrying arms side by side with the local mafia. So the police arms, the administration's what you call weapons, and the mafia's weapons have all become one here in West Bengal at this point of time. The journalist fraternity in West Bengal has protested twice. They had gone into the BDO, DM and SDO office to capture visuals, and there what you call phones and cameras has been snatched. There was a girl, a lady journalist, whose phone was taken away from her. She was kidnapped for 2 hours and all the visuals were deleted. So that is the concrete situation here in West Bengal. In the administrative structure also you will find reflection. You have the State Election Commission take into cognizance that there is a breakdown in the process of filing nominations. They issued a notification whereby they extended the date of filing nominations by 1 day. They withdrew it under pressure from the Trinamool Congress the next day. The High Court took cognizance of the fact that the nomination process is not normal. It's an absolutely abnormal situation. The High Court ordered that 1 extra day of filing nominations should be allowed. So I think so, if you look at what's happening in West Bengal, you've got all the agencies representing that something abnormal is taking place. The fact of the matter at the end of the day is that we've got about 20,000 seats in which the opposition has not been allowed to file their nomination.
No, so you say that, and I'm going to ask you on that specifically, Mr. Fuad Alim.
By the
you say that in 20,000 seats. Yes, Mr. Fuad Alim, you say that in 20,000 seats, opposition has not been allowed to file nomination. Did you have plans? Did your party have plans to fight on these seats? If so, can you give us a sense of how many more candidates would have managed to file their nomination papers? Towards the end, there were also candidates who were filing their nomination via WhatsApp. You know, if there is a will, there could have been a way. I just want to understand how much more of a challenge would you have put up to Mamata Banerjee?
No, there are two things that need to be clarified. The first thing is that a number of our candidates who had filed their nomination, they were forced to withdraw. So, you know, the degree of violence has to be understood at 3 levels. The first level is that they have not allowed, in a number of places, our candidates to go in and file their nomination. The second phase of violence has to be understood that those who had filed their nominations, they were abducted, their family members were threatened, there are a series of murders that have taken place. The violence was unleashed in the homes of the people who had filed their nomination, and they were coerced into withdrawing their nomination. The third level of violence one has to understand is that the people who went to the High Court, the High Court directed them and allowed them for online what you call submission.
Yes.
Those people were not allowed to submit their forms even despite the High Court order. And it is only as a recourse that the High Court allowed online submission of the forms. So you have to understand that even the High Court's order was not what you call enough for the Trinamool Congress and the State Election Commission to arrange an environment where the people armed with the High Court verdict could go normally to the office and submit their forms. So the online submission of forms actually characterizes that even the High Court's order is not valuable enough for these people who are perpetrating violence.
We did
in
see,
West Bengal.
yes,
So
in fact on the date, on the one day,
has to be understood, the police and the gundas have become one here in West Bengal.
on the day where the extension was given for filing of the nomination papers on April 23rd, we saw significant violence take place again. Now, I am not going to sit here and say whether the TMC did it or the left did it or the BJP did it or any other party did it. The clashes are political in nature. There was significant amount of violence. We lost one life. Many more were left injured. This is despite, like Fuad Halim is pointing out, intervention of the top court. This is how the entire nomination process has taken place. Viewers, I just want to highlight that aspect as I go across to Mr. Majumdar and get his views. Mr. Majumdar, what about your party? You've now, only in the last few years, begun to significantly make your inroads into West Bengal. Do you feel you could have filed and fought on a lot more seats? Did you have plans to fight on more seats and where you filed nomination?
Listen, if the scope would have been, for a free and fair election, free and fair nomination, Bharatiya Janata Party in West Bengal would have filed in 100% of the seats. The point is, now we are living in West Bengal in India. This is not Uganda of Idi Amin, where in the election he got 99.9% vote. I wonder if Mamata Banerjee somehow, any day, she takes over of Indian democracy, then she will make this compulsory that no one else will be able to vote. Not only that, no one else will be able to stand as opposition, because what she is saying time and again, that opposition-free panchayat, meaning opposition-free democracy, she is saying time and again. And her mantra is that if you go out to file nomination, if you go out even to vote, you will see that Mr. Development is standing on the road with bombs and bullets and lathis. This is Trinamool Congress democracy. And we are ashamed that there is an election commission which is supposed to be a constitutional body, and they are a meek observer to these terror tactics of Mamata Banerjee and her party. Never, never in Indian democracy it happened ever before. What is happened this time in panchayat election? I think a whole world has seen, the whole India has seen how Mamata Banerjee is functioning and how she is controlling the panchayat election with only one mantra, that opposition free. How a democracy run this way? That is the question.
Let me take that question across to our other panelists.
That this election commission...
No, I have genuine concerns about the fact that in 20,000 of these seats, that people will not have a choice. The voter doesn't have a choice between candidates. There is just one candidate, so that's what it is. And these level elections are the most crucial, because the Gram Panchayats, the Gram Samitis, the Zilla Parishad Panchayats are the ones that are closest to the people on ground out there in our rural areas and should be serving the people once they get elected. And if the system is not followed properly there, then it is a massive concern. Mr. Ranjan Bhattacharya, do you agree with what the BJP and the left are saying right now?
Well, I must tell you that with regard to the situation explained by both left parties and the BJP, it seems to be that they are, as a matter of fact also, far from the ground reality. The reality is that the entire Bengal and its entire rural belt, all the districts, wherever the panchayat elections are taking place, the left parties and BJP do not have any organization to start with. B, they do not have enough party supporters and party setup which can fulfill the number of seats to contest the election. Second point is, it reminds me the way in a very systematic manner the propaganda against Trinamool and Mamata Banerjee is going on in Bengal pre-panchayat election. and the way the all opposition party in Bengal going not to the real supreme body of democracy, that is People's Court, they are going to either junior court or high court, because they do not have any ground to go back to the people and seek their support.
But that's
And
because,
if
Mr.
at all
Bhattacharya,
there is a kind of complaint.
Mr.
Please
Bhattacharya,
allow me
that's
to
because...
complete. You have allowed them to complete. Let me complete.
I am. All right, go ahead. Finish your point.
Of your time. Let me. Now the issue is that it reminds me the last assembly election when the entire opposition party, electronic media, print media, and Bengal's so-called intelligentsia, they organized together, ganged up against Mamata Banerjee, and people of Bengal did give their verdict to Mamata Banerjee more than the last assembly election result was there. Therefore, I just like to remind them, better concentrate on organizing, go to the people, both left parties and the BJP, to go not to criticize only, but to give some constructive thought process with which they can declare their program, which will develop the situation, which will help the people who are not getting.
Well, I think we
their
are far,
rights.
far away from
And
any
in the
kind of
process,
constructive
they can
contribution
get
right
back
now,
their
Mr.
back.
Bhattacharya. Unfortunately, we are far from away from that situation. Here is what has happened on 4th of April in Bankura. One person, a 44-year-old. Allow me to finish, please. I'm coming back to you only with a question. Allow me to just lay out some points here. On 4th of April 2018, a 44-year-old person was killed after clashes in Bankura. Ajit Murmu was on his way to file nomination when he was attacked. On 6th of April, multiple parties came in for a sit-in protest in Kolkata, alleging that there was violence and they are being stopped, and their nominees are being stopped from filing nomination. On 8th of April, allegedly 500 TMC youth with flags were guarding the entry point to the sub-divisional police officer to the office, and even the cops were chased away from that. On 9th of April, the visuals that went viral of this lady candidate being attacked, being pushed and physically manhandled while she was on her way to file her nomination papers. On 23rd April, everybody knows the kind of clashes that erupted in Asansol on the day that nominations were being filed when the date had been extended. So my question to you is, Mr. Bhattacharya, if you believe that there are less number of rival candidates today because they don't have people capable of fighting elections, then tell me, what do you attribute this violence to?
Well, I like to bring across and my viewers that the fact of the matter is, in Bengal, it has a long history of the left parties ruling the state for more than 30 years. And they have taught the state that the kind of democracy they are trying to talk about and they are propagating against Trinamool and, Mamata Banerjee. What is the saddest part of it is that in Bengal, we have experienced what they have done. We are not going to repeat it. But very scientific way, what they are doing is, whatever little number of followers they have here and there, whichever places, incidents you have mentioned just now, their people are holding the Trinamool's flag and doing all kind of activities which is creating disturbance for the both administration and political
But are they people
and
of
the
TMC
media
or not?
is showing those pictures, and it is, and please allow me to say, I can give you more than 100 instances, example, where it can be proved that the opposition parties, more in particular BJP and CPM and left parties, are on the street with arms to terrorize the people and Trinamool workers. And they have killed also. You must have seen, you have never mentioned that Trinamool Congress workers and their leaders are being tortured, killed, and they are the people who are the target in Bengal today. Because I can remind you, in the last two major Hindu religions festive, the way BJP took it up and the way with armaments they have gone.
Now you are derailing from the topic, Mr. Bhattacharya. Those are other issues. We've debated them much. We've much debated those issues. Yes, Mr. Majumdar, just if you can just allow me this, two of our panelists are yet to make their opening comments. So I'm going to quickly go across to Shikha Mukherjee first and then to Professor Chokar. Shikha Mukherjee, like our panelists are saying, it's not that Bengal is new to political violence. And it's often said that those political goons who are part of the ruling dispensation during left era have simply just switched parties and nothing much has changed on ground. But does it look like situation has actually worsened to a point that we've seen in the past 1 month?
Well, I think that, if you look at the figures, 34% of the seats are going uncontested. There has been widespread political violence. This panchayat election and in the previous panchayat elections, the election commission and the state election commission and the opposition political parties were locked in various kinds of legal battles over what shall be the right of the opposition parties in terms of filing nominations and the dates of election, what shall be the arrangement of security for candidates as well as for voters. So what you're seeing is that from 2013 downwards, 2013, 2018, the situation takes an even worse turn. 2013, there was a kind of impasse between the State Election Commission and the state government. There were issues of how many policemen, where were the policemen coming from, what kind of arrangements would be made. The same is true of today. And if you look at what is the ground reality, the police seems not to have been present in averting or intervening when clashes were taking place. What emerges is that 34% of the seats are going uncontested. How is that possible in a democratic politics?
Absolutely.
It's simply not possible because every political party has the right to contest elections. Now, I am willing to admit, for the sake of an argument, that the BJP does not have enough numbers of candidates, that the left today does not have enough numbers of candidates. They're both smaller and more depleted parties than the Trinamool Congress. So too of the Congress. But does it mean that 34% of the seats will go uncontested, even no matter how severely depleted these parties are?
Well, you've put it very well, and I want to take up that point and take it across to Professor Chokar. Professor, there are two aspects. One, of course, is the kind of violence that we've seen yet again. Swords, guns, crude bombs, they have become synonymous to the state of Bengal, not just now under Mamata Banerjee's tenure, but unfortunately it seems to continue in the same form. The second aspect is the democratic process itself, where I as a voter in 20,000 of these 60,000 odd 58,600 seats don't have a choice. There is only one candidate this way or that way. What does that do to my choice as a voter? And in rest of the constituencies, is there a fear that people may not want to even come out and vote, considering what has happened during the nomination process itself?
You see, Tanvi, this process of deterioration of the democratic ethos has had a significantly long history, not only in West Bengal, but in other parts of the countries also. There is a state where several years ago, the state government had said that any village which votes a panchayat unanimously or all the members are elected unanimously will be given a grant. This was called sub-ras panchayats. Now people had even at that time said that this is a negation of democracy This is bribing voters in a village to elect people unanimously. That is point one. Point two, we are talking about opposition-free West Bengal. We have also heard earlier major political parties saying we want a so-and-so Mukt Bharat. Now, the intention of political parties today is not only to win a particular election, it is also to completely wipe out the opposition, to decimate the opposition for good. And this applies to all political parties. Our political parties have actually, I am sorry to say, they have run amok. They do not do what is called traditional political activity. They want to just win elections by hook or by crook, often by crook. Now, instead of fighting or contesting on the political battlefield of public opinion, why do political parties go to the judiciary? They go to the judiciary because they think they have nothing else to do but to seek recourse to law. Number three, when we are talking of violence, for many, many years, I have been shuddering to see that we don't only have the battle of the ballot, we have the battle of the ballot under the shadow of a bullet. Why do we need security forces?
Right, Professor Chokar.
Because we do not follow the rule of law.
I will come back to you and allow you to finish that point. I just want to quickly go across to our Industries Minister, Babul Supriyo of the BJP on the phone line with us. Mr. Supriyo, thank you for speaking to us here on Mirror Now. I just wanted to ask you, in 20,000 of the seats that will go to poll on 14th of May, there are not going to be any other candidates except one each of TMC. To what do you attribute this? There are many who say that this is only happening because the BJP and the left don't have candidates enough to fight Mamata Banerjee.
No, that's the irresponsible, callous, and what should I say, shameless argument that is being put forward by the same TMC goons. I refuse to call the Mamata Banerjee the CM of Bengal. She's just a TMC leader now, who's herself orchestrating this absolute tandem of this plethora of violence that is taking part in throughout Bengal. And I'll give you one interesting data from 1977 till 2017. The total number of uncontested seats that have been won by any ruling party, it was CPM earlier, was about 23,000, the total number. Even in 2003, when the left was in power, the number of uncontested seats were about 6,300, I'm told. Only in 2018, Mamata Banerjee and her party of goons and, in sync with the administration and the police, they have destroyed all records that even the parent CPM couldn't do in 40 years. Mamata Banerjee achieved that in 6 years. It is an absolute murder of democracy. And she has no respect, probably. I mean, it's quite surprising being a seasoned politician like her. She doesn't know that when the central government has put in expressed and extended a helping hand with central forces, she's actually doing politics by asking non-BJP states to send in help. What kind of a chief minister would you really, I don't know how to describe her. What I see, what I hear is only politics, and the police, it has been documented in West Bengal, and that the police officers who have actually had some spine and has done what Constitution asks them to do for their duties have been given punishment postings. The TV channels are actually showing that with the names given. And let's understand one thing, that these are not allegations made by the BJP. This is not a documentary of violence that the BJP has shot as a film. It is the real fact which has been captured by our media, the electronic media and the print media friends, colleagues of yours, and that's the reason they have been detained, they have been harassed, their cameras have been broken, they've been beaten down, and we all know about it. So this is absolute murder of democracy, and if Mamata Banerjee thinks that she can misuse the privilege that was given to states about law and order being a state subject, then I think she's probably forgetting what history has taught her in Bengal itself.
Mr. Supriyo, do you believe now that your party and even the left and others must go and increase the pressure on the state to step up the security for the elections. You know, in the light of what has happened in all of April, the kind of violence we have seen, isn't it very essential that people's security is ensured when they come out to vote on 14th of May?
Absolute. See, everyone is not into politics. As you know, everyone is not representing a BJP, Congress or CPIM to actually go and raise their voices. There are normal people in Bengal, and we know that they are not very aggressive people. They have all decided to stay home on the 14th. They don't even want to be voters. They don't even want to go to the vote for the polling booths. They want to stay put at their home safely, because what we are seeing in Bengal is unprecedented. And let me tell you that how on earth can we even have a utopian dream that things are going to fall into place on the 14th when we have seen that the one day that was ordered by the Honorable High Court about the extension of the nomination, even on that day the worst violence happened. I was myself stopped by the Tribunal rules for an hour and a half. They were lying on the street, not letting me reach the SDO office with the nominees for about 2 hours. They just left after 3:10. And the Chief Minister actually goes ahead and announces that we want to see the largest number of opposition-free seats won by Trinamool Congress in this time. So there is a competition, unholy competition happening between the TMC cadres about winning brownie points from DD, or how many uncontested seats they can do. So it's absolutely deplorable.
Right, Babul Supriyo, thank you for speaking with us here on Mirror Now. Appreciate you taking the time out. I'm going to go across back to Professor Chokar because I interrupted him and he was finishing a point. Go ahead, Professor Chokar.
Thank you, Tanvi. I am quite amused at a person from a political party which says that they want to rid of the country of another particular party to complain about these things. And the same political party sought sub-ras, which means unanimous election of panchayats in a particular state. You know, this is a case of the pot calling the kettle black. And every political party is guilty of this. Our political parties have actually forgotten what actual politics is. They think they are election winning machines. And panchayat elections are considered special because now a lot of money goes into panchayats directly, and that can be used to patronize and do this, that and the other. The problem right across the country is neither violence nor whatever. It is the behavior of political parties. I was at a seminar recently where a very, very senior retired Chief Justice of India said that the major issue in this country is the behavior of political parties. Political parties believe that they are above the law of the land. In the state where they rule, they think they are the rulers. You know, this concept of ruler should have gone out when we had democracy come in.
Discussion is going completely on the other line.
And lead. Let me complete, sir, if you don't mind. There is a senior political leader of a national party which said on the television once that I suggest to so-and-so that they should form a political party, they should contest elections, come into power, and then do what they like. Politicians have forgotten that there is something like the
We are on the West Bengal issue.
Should be followed.
Present violence.
And let me, sir, complete. Every single political party, all the political parties in West Bengal included, have given a complete go-by to the constitution and democratic norms of behavior.
Okay, let me take that point to the political representatives, Professor Chokar.
And the police
Yes, because the people of West Bengal will be let down if there is not a free and fair election where they're not given the choice that they deserve, that is given to them as per the constitution, that they're not allowed to vote. And if an atmosphere of fear is created. So let me take that across to our panelists, and I'll go first across to Mr. Majumdar, who was objecting to what Professor Chokar was saying, and then I'll go to Fuad Halim and Mr. Bhattacharya.
Professor Chokar was taking a philosophical stand, and you know, it's really baffled me that two wrongs make one right. that every political party is bad, and next he would have said that democracy is bad. Still we are,
I never said that.
having democracy for last 70 years and successfully
so. You are saying
and
that.
please, sir, please. And that is the thing here in West Bengal. What is happening? It's not happening in Karnataka. In last by-elections in UP, 2 seats were won by parties opposing BJP. BJP is in power. That shows that still democracy is functioning there. In West Bengal, the current ruling party and the current regime of Mamata Banerjee, they are not ready to allow any opposition to stand.
No, but
And
Mr.
that is the
Majumdar, if
reality.
there is
This
evidence,
poison
Mr.
tree
Majumdar,
was sown at the time of CPM.
if there is
And
evidence
now
that you have
the
that in all of these
Trinamool
incidences,
Congress
it is the
being a
Trinamool
very
Congress
meritorious
that is
student of
actually
CPM,
blocking
they
the
have made
nomination
it
process.
Absolutely, democracy is
Why don't you go
absolutely
to
full of
court?
violence.
Why don't you go to court? If there is evidence that it is the
Yes,
TMC,
we have-
if there is
that is the
evidence,
last thing.
because Mr.
We
Ranjan
have-
Bhattacharya
we
says
have-
it's
we
just a
have gone
propaganda
to-
against the Mamata
BJP
Banerjee
has
government.
gone to court, Supreme Court has taken cognizance of that violence, directed
Of the violence.
the Election Commission to take
Of the
cognizance
violence.
of that violent nature. And that's why
Correct
the
me if I'm
election
wrong,
of
Mr. Majumdar.
1,
Supreme
3rd
Court has
and
taken
5th
cognizance
May
of the
would not
violence, of
happen.
course. It is for everybody to see that the violence happened. My point to you is, if there is evidence of who did or who triggered this violence, who led this violence, then can you not give that
Who is-
evidence to the Election Commission?
Who
Can
is-
you not
who
give
is-
that evidence
who is
to the
ruling
court of
state?
law?
Who is ruling the state?
What
The
happened to Election
government
Commission?
has got the
Why don't
solemn
you queue up
duty
outside
to
Election
keep
Commission and
law
give them the
order.
evidence?
The government's duty, not opposition party's duty. So whoever supporting Trinamool, they have to answer. The Trinamool Congress is in the government. They have got the right.
You are
and
making the allegation
responsibility
that
to
it is
keep
the
law and
TMC.
order. Whoever may be doing the violence, what they are doing, what police was doing, what government was doing, they are supposed to give enough security for each stages
Yes,
of the
fair
election.
enough.
which
And the
they have
TMC should
failed.
be questioned
And
on
let
the
me tell you
failure
one
to
particular
maintain law and order.
information. Look, no, one information I must share with you. One information only, then I'll stop. On 2nd of April, Election Commission has declared the schedule. On 28th of April, we went to meet them for a meaningful consultation under the directives of High Court. And the State Election Commission told us they don't have any blueprint of security, because they said the state government of Mamata Banerjee did not give us any security roadmap or arrangement details. That is the situation in West Bengal today.
Well, I mean, if that is the state of affairs and the State Election Commission is telling you that, then one must ask, why is the State Election Commission also not raising this with the state and taking action? Fuad Halim, if there is evidence to suggest who started the violence, to prove who triggered the violence, why is it not being given to the Election Commission and to the court?
Just shown on your screen, those visuals of violence are actually incidents that have taken place right in front of the offices of the administration. The very visuals that you are using today are clear evidence that the administration office, the compounds of the administrative offices have become the site of violence, and that is where the Trinamool people have unleashed their violence on the people who had come to file their nomination. Each and every visual that you have shown, Tanvi, is clearly showing that all these violent incidences have taken place right under the nose and within the compound of the administrative infrastructure here in West Bengal. So that is the degree of compliance that the state administration and the Trinamool Gundas have achieved here at this point of time. But before I comment on that, I would like to congratulate the ADR and their representatives for the latest reports where they have said that 58 MPs and MLAs have been involved in hate speeches as per their own submission in affidavits, and I congratulate them because not a single MP or MLA from the left is named by them. So I congratulate them for this report. Coming back to the Bengal situation,
he also says, Mr. Fuad Ali, Professor Chokar has also said that all political parties have let down the citizens and they start behaving in the same way when they come to power. I'm just putting it out there what ADR and Professor Chokar also have as a view. But yeah, that being aside, go ahead.
We welcome criticism. We welcome criticism of the Communist Party by any agency, and we look at it self-critically. But the facts that the ADR have brought out clearly absolves the left of being involved with hate speeches. That's very clear. So I was just making that point.
Okay.
The situation in Bengal at this point of time has deteriorated to this extent that, let's be very clear, that the entire democratic fabric, the sense of democracy is being taken away. If I talk of an individual case, then the entire Singur movement actually revolved around the rape and murder of Taposi Malik. And today Taposi Malik's father is standing as an independent, and he is saying that the murderers who murdered his daughter and raped his daughter are members of the Trinamool Congress. Now that was a person who played a seminal role in accusing the left of actually doing all these things, and he is today, the father of that girl is today saying that it is a Trinamool Congress who is indulging in violence. Look at the visuals that you are showing, that
Yes.
if you look at this visual, you are seeing this entire mob. Look at this gentleman. He's standing hand in hand with the police. You got people with uniform. You got people, gundas. You got them first time in.
And Mamata Banerjee maintains complete silence on this. Yes, Fuad Ali, Mamata Banerjee maintains complete silence on this. There is zero request that has gone from the state to the center for additional forces. One only wonders that when 60,000 odd seats are going to go for election on one single day, what is going to happen with about 1 lakh policemen available for that security. Now, before I go across to Shikha Mukherjee, I just want to quickly go across to a few of our viewers who are also on the phone line. Mr. P.K. Majumdar is calling us from Kolkata. Good evening. Okay, we seem to have lost that line. Do we have Joydeep from Bengaluru?
Yes, thank you, ma'am.
Good evening, Mr. Joydeep. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, first let me congratulate Mamata Banerjee for exceeding all the limits, and she has shown and she has proven to all the leaders of the country that how election can be manipulated. But she deserves this congratulation because she has boldly and proudly exceeded all the limits. Now, one thing I want to bring it to your notice, the election in West Bengal, election in Karnataka, the root cause analysis, in IT there is a word RCA. The root cause analysis is you have to amend the RP Act. That RP Act gives the freedom to all political parties to nominate criminals inside the election process. Karnataka has proven, your other anchor has already run the show yesterday, proving how many criminals are fighting in the Karnataka. Same seen in West Bengal. And there, this such situation can be improved only when you amend the draconian law of RP Act, which gives the freedom to all political parties to hide their donation, whether it's coming from Dawood or it is coming from Mehul Choksi. Nobody knows. And
Absolutely.
At the same time, you nominate all the criminals inside the election process, and you expect Aam Aadmi like us to go and vote for all these gundagardis. So, madam, please bring up the issue of root cause, that is RP Act needs to be amended.
Thank you, Joydeep, for calling us and raising that very important issue, and we will definitely take it up and also, highlight that again. But let me go across to Shikha Mukherjee on the conversation that we were having before this. Shikha Mukherjee, is there a sense that parties and the governments have changed, the era of who rules West Bengal has changed, but the way things are done on ground haven't really changed that much? That the politics of intimidation and muscle power still continue?
Well, I think that the degree and the quantity and quality of violence has completely changed the dynamics of politics in West Bengal. I mean, if you think of the fact that 34% of seats are going uncontested, that is not a democratic process. It is a selective process imposed on voters by a particular ruling political party. This makes nonsense of an entire democratic process where there has to be an opposition as well as there has to be a ruling party, and there has to be a contest between the two for a majority of votes. That having said that, let me go on to something even worse that is happening. That at every point in this violence, everyone in the opposition is going to tell you that the police has failed to intervene. As I said, in 2013, the police and the kind of interventions that they could provide in terms of securing for the voter the right to cast a free vote, which was, there was no intimidation, there was no violence, there was no kind of hidden persuasion happening in the background. All of this points to a process in West Bengal where the ruling party seems to have taken on the responsibility of ensuring that its own domination of the state and its politics is expanding. It's not willing to be just a dominant political party. It wants to be the only political party, as it were. Because how else can it happen that 34% of the seats are already in the Trinamool Congress's bag? It doesn't make political sense. This is not a normal process in a democracy. I mean, yes, it's fine that in Russia Mr. Putin wins with 90% odd votes. But is that what we think that the Indian democratic process ought to be?
No, absolutely
not. Is that the model that Mamata Banerjee is trying to suggest should be the model for Indian democracy? I don't think so. And I don't think that this actually, I mean, the political parties need to, the opposition political parties need to find a solution to all this beyond complaining to the courts. There has to be something far more that they need to do in order to be able to challenge.
And my fear is, Ms. Mukherjee, that the way things are going, it seems as if the opposition parties are also coming up with just solution, and that is to take on violence with violence, to take on gundaism and gundagiri with gundagiri. And in many places, what you've seen is those kind of political clashes that both sides are equally prepared, to the extent when they fight over the victim and the identity of the victim. Yes, Mr. Majumdar, 1 minute, please. But before I want to go across to Mr. Bhattacharya.
You're right.
I will give you one information. There is a factual difference that 2013, the election commission led by Mrs. Meera Pandey went to the court, not political parties. Miss Meera Pandey was fighting the state government at that point of time, and at the end, Supreme Court had to intervene. So why some people are against anyone to going to court to restore democracy? At the end, the court has got that right to put the constitutional rights of the people, of all people.
No, that's
so
not, no, that is a different thing.
The state has failed to give us security.
That's a
Someone
different
has
thing.
to go to court.
Someone has to go to court.
Safety, security and democratic right.
Okay, Mr. Bhattacharya,
Yes,
your response to what Shikha Mukherjee is also saying.
It happened when Meera Pandey went to court. She was the
34% of the seats are going uncontested. That is unprecedented. Why is Mamata Banerjee so silent on this and allowing this politically also? And as a chief minister, the kind of violence we've seen, why is this being allowed?
Are you asking me to respond to this?
Yes, Mr. Bhattacharya. In your view.
Well, Tanya, yeah, I like to put it across in two parts. One part of it is, which I was listening for quite a long time, that, everything that Mamata Banerjee is doing or not doing, talking or not talking, whether she is silent or not, her question mark. My point of view with regard to the present Panchayat election, I am not going to compare with the previous one, nor am going to compare or say something about the future Panchayat elections. I have a point to raise here, and very categorically. All opposition parties, they are looking to a solution going to the court of law, and they are looking to a solution of political war between Trinamool and Mamata Banerjee without
what should they do, Mr. Bhattacharya? The last time also,
agenda,
I wanted to ask you this question, Mr. Bhattacharya. What should they do? They claim you're not, TMC is not allowing them to file nomination.
They are going
You
to
say,
court to restore
you
the
say
democracy
go to the court of
which
people.
Mamata Banerjee is.
Mr. Majumdar, 1 minute, please.
Madam,
No, Mr. Bhattacharya,
Madam,
this
do
is
not
exactly
give
what you said the first time. Now you're repeating yourself. So I am going to ask you a counter question. If you can please take my question. My question to you is this. You are saying instead of going to court, the political parties, your rival parties should go to the court of people and fight it out there. My counter question to you is, because you already made this point, how do they do that? Their claim is that they are not being allowed. They are not being allowed to file their nomination. They are not being allowed to fight the election. How do they do that then? I'm asking you a question.
I know all that, whatever you are asking me. I'm giving you answer. You allow me to answer. You allow everybody except me. But anyway, I'm happy about that you are allowing at least me at the end to say something about this situation and the reaction of all my panelists. The issue is that media will highlight all that misdeeds and the kind of violence is happening over there in Bengal pre and post Panchayat elections. And there are court which will take care of issues for security. And
no, sir, I'm sorry, I will have to interrupt you there. Mr. Bhattacharya, I'm sorry, I will have to interrupt you there because you're going around the point. I am completely out of time. I was hoping you will give me a clear answer, but you are not giving me a clear answer. Of course, the TMC officially will not come out and give us an explanation. They won't sit on these debates, unfortunately. Otherwise, we would have asked them these direct questions. But here is the fact of the matter. 34% of the seats are going to be uncontested. One candidate, TMC, take it or leave it. That's all it is. You can't even leave it. That's what you're getting. That's the state of affairs in West Bengal today when the Gram Panchayat, when the rural elections happen in about 2 weeks from now. Every day we sit here and we ask you as the voter to keep in mind how the candidates are working, what the candidates are doing for you, to keep in mind the issues that matter and what their promises are, and to vote for the right candidate. I do not know what to tell our viewers tonight, especially those in West Bengal who don't have a choice. They don't have a choice when it comes to candidates. That is the unprecedented situation we are looking at. And for this to be allowed to happen without anybody raising their voice just astonishes me. The kind of violence that has happened on the streets from Birbhum to Asansol in West Bengal is shocking. The courts had to intervene. That hasn't helped. Candidates have been beaten up. Candidates have been assaulted, shamed, and attacked. Guns have been used. Bombs have been hurled. Is this how elections will be held in our country? That is the question I want to leave you with. That is the question I'm going to ask the authorities and the Election Commission tonight. Thank you so much to our panelists for joining.